All right, we're live. You guys probably heard a little deep breath and okay, here we go. Welcome to the Happy Wife School Show. Great to be here with you guys today and hope you're having a nice weekend so far. Before we get into today's topic, just a couple of announcements. One, if you like the Happy Wife School Show, without the beginning and end of me talking to you guys and answering questions or chit-chatting, and you like to listen in podcast format, not video, you want to go check out the Happy Wife School on Spotify and Apple. I want to thank those who have left such wonderful, nice reviews about the show and my message on Apple podcast. I was reading through that last week and was so touched. So thank you if you have left me a review there. I really, really appreciate it. It helps reach more people. Also, if you haven't checked out my colleague Josie's YouTube channel, The Autoimmune Expert, you want to go to her channel and listen to her videos and her message. She helps people to permanently heal from autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses. So if you have a loved one or you yourself suffers from an autoimmune disease like fibromyalgia or Hashimoto's or Graves or rheumatoid arthritis or chronic illness like anxiety or depression or PTSD or chronic pain, you want to go listen to Josie and check out her courses to learn how to permanently heal by resolving your emotional state. Also, there's not going to be a live on the 29th, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Can't believe the holidays are upon us, but I will be live next Saturday. And maybe I'll do kind of a holiday. I always like to do an episode on the holidays and teaching about how to go through the holidays in a much better way for both us as women and for good men. I have, I think, 2 holiday episodes thus far that you can find under the live tab if you're needing some support around that already. So in working with the women I work with and also just myself, it's already starting to shake things up. So it's not too early to start looking at the holidays and how to do them in a different way for them to be much more enjoyable in the midst of our woman ways. So getting into the topic for today, we are looking at the truth about your marriage. Your wife is the one who is emotionally disengaged. Your wife is the one who is emotionally disengaged. And as I said that title and started to get going, I realized I forgot to make sure you guys can hear me and also just to say hello. So let me go in and make sure you guys can hear me, see me. Everything is coming through all right. Salty Combat Diver, great to have you. Monica, nice to have you. Of course, a big shout out to Phil and Steve for being our wonderful moderators. Kimba, nice to have you. Noah, nice to have you. Thank you, Phil, loud and clear. Mauricio, great to have you. Troy Dunn, Colleen, you guys are just awesome being here every week. So I appreciate that. So I'll pop into the chat at the end of the show to answer some questions and read some comments. But now we're going to get into the topic, the truth about your marriage. Your wife is the one who is emotionally disengaged. Why I want to talk about this is I talked with a man this week who is struggling with his wife constantly telling him that he's emotionally unavailable, that she doesn't feel emotionally secure or supported with him, and he is a good man trying to do everything that she's asked him to do, and it's never enough, and the goalpost keeps moving. And I helped him to see she is the one. She's the one that's emotionally unavailable, and she is gaslighting you and projecting onto you that it's you, and realize that this would be a great topic to share because men are so brainwashed to believe that they are the ones who are emotionally inept, disconnected, and unavailable. And that hope happens both from their wives but also because of our society. Our society constantly reinforces that men are emotionally unavailable, that they're not as attuned to their emotions as women, that they just shove it down, cut it off, and are emotionally disconnected, and that women are the ones who are emotionally attuned, emotionally available, the emotional support for the family, the glue of the family because of our nurturing, loving, empathetic ways, and that men have a lot to learn from women and our ability to emotionally connect and be there for others. Essentially, as women, we have fooled society. We have fooled society with our victim stories, painting our husbands and men as the problem, and society buying in to those victim stories. It's like the biggest dupe on our world and society is that women are the emotionally available ones, and it is actually the exact opposite. So the first place that I want to go is defining what it means to be emotionally unavailable. What it means to be emotionally unavailable. Being emotionally unavailable is when a person lives in a universe of one and does not allow people into their emotional self. They push love away. When we take that definition and we apply it to us as women in our marriages with our husbands, being emotionally unavailable is when, as women or as a wife, we live in a universe of one. We do not allow our husbands into our emotional self. And we push our husband's love away. For the good men listening, this is why your wife says something along the lines of, I don't feel loved by you, or you don't love me the right way. It's where the love languages are born out of, and why your wife wants you to use the love languages, because she doesn't feel loved. And if you just spoke her love language, she would feel loved and you would have the emotional intimacy that she craves. But regardless of how you speak her love language or do the things she asks to love her the right way, it is never enough. She makes you wrong and bad in it and further pushes you away. It is because we are the ones who are emotionally unavailable. It is not our husbands, because a good man's nature is loving, kind, caring, craves emotional intimacy with his wife, and is constantly pushed away, told he's wrong, made to be bad, and made into the problem in the relationship. And some good men will keep trying and trying and trying and trying and never give up. And other good men, because of how they have been pushed away and rejected and told that they are wrong and bad, do give up and withdraw and pull away. I imagine there are some good men listening right now that say, I don't know, Karen. I'm pretty distant and checked out in my relationship. I see the things my wife says in terms of me being withdrawn and not connected to her. And if you are a good man and your nature is loving, kind, caring, just want your wife to be happy and just want the connection you thought marriage was supposed to be that you never get, you need to understand that it is the emasculation, the gaslighting, the manipulation from your wife are constantly making you wrong, constantly shaming you for who you are, constantly letting you know that you are never enough. Anything that you bring up to try to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling in the relationship, she gaslights you to tell you why that's wrong, what's really going on, and then you get sucked into that crazy making. And eventually, over time, you give up and you withdraw and you become distant and aloof in the relationship because you're constantly given the message that you're not enough, that it's not right enough, you're not doing anything right in the relationship. And the goal of your wife in that is to push you away, to get you to be withdrawn, to get you to be emotionally disconnected in the relationship, so that she can point the finger out and tell you how you are the problem, and it validates her victim story. So you have to begin to see through what's actually happened. And you can think back to yourself and who you were in the beginning of the relationship to see yourself as engaged, connected, wanting to share a life and an emotional connection with your wife, and look back and see how you were in the beginning to where you are today, to see the truth of your experience and your relationship. The essence of being emotionally unavailable is a disconnection from ourselves. The essence of being emotionally unavailable as a woman and a wife in our marriages is a disconnection from ourselves. Why? Why as women do we become so disconnected from ourselves and emotionally unavailable in our marriages? It comes down to our walls. I have never worked with a woman, spoke with a woman who does not know that she has walls and that she has been building walls her whole life since she began getting hurt, emotionally hurt, and she began to put walls up and push others away. Our walls in our marriages as women become very thick, very tall, and often wrapped in barbed wire. And the person who gets the brunt of our emotional hurt that we have been storing and holding on to behind our walls is our husbands. Our walls are the mechanism to stay emotionally disconnected and unavailable. And the ultimate reason for our walls is because we are so afraid to feel and so afraid to be vulnerable. It is again, one of the biggest dupes we've done on society, that men are afraid to feel, men are afraid to be vulnerable, when that's what a good man genuinely wants in his marriage and relationship with his wife, is the ability to feel, to have that connection with his wife, and to have emotional vulnerability, for it to be a safe environment for them to be with their wives and be emotionally connected, to not be afraid to feel and be willing to be vulnerable. But our walls make that impossible. And the reason for our walls is the hurt, the emotional hurt that we've held on to in our lives, that then we perceive feeling and vulnerability as emotional pain. And for us as women, it goes back to the first time that we ever felt emotional hurt and pain, that we ever got our hearts broken. And somewhere in us, we said, we are never letting that happen again. And we begin to guard our hearts and build our walls, disconnecting from ourselves and pushing others away. And then we get married, and our husband gets the worst of our walls. So we're afraid to feel anything that we could perceive as emotional pain. And what begins to happen is that not only difficult feelings, but even good feelings, feeling good about ourselves, having fun, being silly like we used to in the beginning of the relationship, we begin to falsely perceive all feeling, all vulnerability as emotional pain. And because we are pain avoiders, we do everything we can to not have to feel. And I know right now some of you are thinking, but Karen, women are so emotional. What do you mean that you're afraid to feel? What do you mean you're pain avoiders? It doesn't make sense. You're so emotional. And that's where we have to understand there is a difference between being emotional and actually feeling. There is a difference between being emotional and feeling. Being emotional is actually a way to avoid feeling. Being emotional is a way to avoid feeling. It's why for both the women listening and for the men, but men, when you bring up an issue with your wife and something that you would like for her to work on and something you would like for her to change, the waterworks start. And she starts crying. That is a defense mechanism of her walls to push you away and make you feel wrong and bad for bringing something up and asking her to change something and even suggesting there's something she needs to change. And it's a way for her to not have to feel the vulnerability of her flaw or shortcoming, or that there's something she actually needs to work on and change. It's very vulnerable to be confronted with her shortcomings and actually take accountability for them. So that's why we turn the tears on to manipulate you, to get you to back off and to push you away, so we don't have to feel the uncomfortable feelings that we made a mistake or we're not showing up in a way that's constructive to the relationship or to the family. And that's why we start crying. It's a manipulation tool to hide behind our walls. And it has nothing to do with feeling. Feeling is not emotional. It's not a lot of crying. It's a slowing down and connecting with ourselves to experience what we are feeling, not emote. Emoting is the opposite of feeling, and it's a way to avoid the perceived emotional pain of actually slowing down and being in touch with our emotional experience. I have another video on that. And I believe it is in the live episode of Emotional Dysregulation, Why Your Wife is Emotionally Dysregulated. So you can learn more and more in-depth explanation of the difference between feeling and emotions in that live episode. So coming back to our walls, after explaining the difference between being emotional and feeling, because I know that can be confusing, but coming back to our walls is understanding that's what allows us to disconnect from ourselves, allows us to not have to genuinely feel, and it leaves us feeling empty, lost, and numb. And what we have to understand as women, what good men need to understand in their experience from their wives, is even if in the context of our marriage, even if we say or do something seemingly nice or loving, or something that would require emotional intimacy and connection, it feels flat, empty, and performative. So some men are married to women that can hold the nice facade longer in a marriage, and it's very confusing of she does nice things. She plays the part of a good wife, but I can't feel her. She seems really far away or still cold. And then you begin to think you're crazy, because anyone from the outside looking in would say, what are you talking about? But good men have to learn to trust the feeling you have and the emptiness behind it, to know that's your wife's walls and pushing you away and being emotionally disconnected in the marriage, because she doesn't actually want to feel, because of the fear of getting hurt and letting somebody in, or even letting herself in. Because in order to feel and let another in, she has to be connected to herself. And we have effectively disconnected ourselves by hiding behind our walls and building our walls. Another reason that we avoid accountability and responsibility is, remember, our walls are there so that we don't have to feel, we don't have to be vulnerable. And inherent in taking accountability for our part and role in the issues, inherent is a vulnerability. Taking accountability and true responsibility for ourselves is a vulnerable experience. In order to genuinely take responsibility, we must actually slow down, admit our behavior, and that it's our behavior, not something that has happened to us, and to admit that we were wrong and make a commitment to follow through and change. That inherent in that requires feeling and vulnerability. Many times, those of you who have been around a while and listening to my message see me get vulnerable in talking about myself and the issues and patterns I have had to see in my marriage, because that's the only way to change them, is being honest. I'm not here on a pedestal pointing and looking down at women saying this is who you are and you need to change. No, I'm sharing from my own lived experience. And the reason I get vulnerable sometimes in sharing my own shortcomings and the things I've had to look at and continue to look at, including my own emotional unavailability and my walls that can still come up in my marriage, is because it requires me to feel and experience myself in that place, which is how I take responsibility and then can change. And why I share from my own experience is to be able to relate with other women and hopefully pull you in to help you see yourselves and know that, yes, it's vulnerable, but it's not scary. It's vulnerable to see ourselves. It's vulnerable to feel. It's vulnerable to take responsibility. But it's not scary, and it doesn't hurt. What is scary and what hurts is living behind our walls and perceiving our husbands as not there for us and creating them to be this person that they aren't. That's scary. Being disconnected from ourselves and not having a self there to help guide us through our marriage and through life and the challenges, that's scary. That's hurtful to ourselves and to our husbands. I'm here to tell you that dropping your walls and allowing yourself to feel, allowing yourself to be truly vulnerable, allowing yourself to see where you've made a mistake, allowing yourself to see and admit and own your woman ways isn't scary, and it doesn't hurt. It actually sets you free and feels really good. I feel good about myself when I'm willing and able to take the flashlight out and see the behaviors I have as a woman and continue to work on them and outgrow them. That builds confidence. That builds security in oneself. That builds trust in oneself, so that then you can feel secure with your husband as a good man and trust him as a good man and walk alongside him in the dance. It is our walls and living behind our walls that is very scary, because then we're not living in a reality. We are living in a projection. Our walls allow us to project onto our husbands the very things we say that they are: distant, emotionally uncaring, emotionally unavailable, not present, unwilling to be vulnerable, unwilling to allow themselves to have deep conversations and feel and be emotionally intimate and connected. All the things that we say our husbands are not, or what they're doing in the relationship, is a projection of who we are as women in our marriages, living with our walls and pushing our husbands away. And from that place, we have no ability to see ourselves and how we are showing up as emotionally distant, withdrawn, disconnected, unavailable, a lack of emotional intimacy, no connection with our husbands. That's the reality of how we are showing up that we don't want to see and project onto our husbands. In our projection and behind our walls, and living in that scary false reality, we also can't see how hurtful we are to our husbands. We have no self-awareness to see the hurt and pain we are causing from being so shut down internally, living behind our walls, and then projecting onto our husbands the very ways that we are showing up in an unhealthy way in the marriage. We're so shut down to our own feelings that we're incapable of seeing the hurt, because it would cause us to have to feel and be vulnerable and admit our own shortcomings and our own wrongs in the relationship. And then we would have to have remorse and empathy for our husbands and the ways we have caused them to feel crushed and heartbroken and discarded and pushed aside in the relationship. So where I would like to go next, and to make it very clear that it's us as women in their marriage with a good man that's emotionally unavailable, we're going to talk about 20 signs your wife is emotionally unavailable. 20 signs that your wife is the one who is emotionally unavailable. This list started out as 10 and it turned into 20. And I think we could have even stretched it to 30, 40, 50, maybe even 100. Because there are so many signs in a marriage of ourselves as women being emotionally unavailable. So the definition of what it means to be emotionally unavailable is when a person lives in a universe of one, doesn't allow people into their emotional self, and they push love away. This is what we project onto our husbands, that everything we think they're doing to be disconnected and not present in the relationship is actually who we are being as women in the relationship. So this list is a red pill moment for women who are living in the story that it's your husband who is emotionally unavailable. And it's a red pill moment for good men to know it's not you. You're not the one who's emotionally disengaged and emotionally unavailable. It's your wife. And good men need to know, if you listen to some of this list and you think, well, that's me, or you think I am distant and withdrawn, it's because the emasculation from your wife has worn you down and pushed you away. And these are the strategies. This list of 20 are the strategies that your wife uses to stay disconnected from herself, to stay disconnected in the marriage, and then projects her own behaviors onto you, or with these strategies, being disconnected from herself, this is how she lives behind her walls and pushes you away, that you might react in a way of becoming distant and disconnected in the relationship. But you have to know the truth of what's happening. And this list should make it very obvious that as women, we are the ones who are emotionally unavailable. So for the women listening, you don't want to listen to this saying, that's not me. You want to listen to this of which ones of these do I know myself in? And to know if you know yourself in even one of these. It shows you that you're emotionally unavailable in your marriage with your husband. And we have to see it's our walls and the walls we build and put around our hearts that allows us to be emotionally disconnected and emotionally unavailable. And what you want to realize is that not only are you disconnected from your husband, but you're disconnected from yourself. One of the biggest issues that I hear from women that I had myself is that I don't know myself. I don't feel connected to myself. That is the number one issue that I hear from women in their unhappiness and just their overall experience in life is, I don't know who I am and I feel disconnected from myself. It's our walls that keep us disconnected from ourselves, and then these strategies that we use to stay disconnected from ourselves because we are terrified to feel. It is not your husband who is terrified to feel. It is you that is terrified to feel. And that is a good thing because if it is us, then we are empowered to change. Because there are 20 in this list, I'm not going to go into a lot of depth into each one, or we'll be here all day. I'm just going to go through the list. Some of them I'll expand on just a little bit, but the key thing I want you to listen for is that in each of these, this is a way to stay emotionally disconnected. So that's why these are the 20 signs your wife is emotionally unavailable, is remembering that the essence of being emotionally unavailable is a disconnection from ourselves. So these behaviors and experiences that we bring into a marriage as a woman are showing us how we are emotionally disconnected from ourselves. So number one, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. Number one, she is not open to your thoughtful, kind words toward her. Number one, she is not open to your thoughtful, kind words toward her. You praise her. You give her a compliment. You tell her how much you love her and how special she is to you, and it falls on deaf ears. She goes cold, she gets annoyed, and she brushes you off. Number two, she pushes you away when you show her physical affection. So you come up to give her a hug or give her a kiss or just touch her on her arm, and she jerks or recoils or pushes your hand off of her. That is a way to know she is emotionally unavailable, meaning emotionally disconnected from herself and having walls to push you away. Number 3, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. Number 3, she's a fun vacuum. Your wife is a fun vacuum. She sees any fun happening and she turns that vacuum on and sucks it all out of the room. Or you go to do something that's supposed to be fun and she's like, and you can tell she's faking it and not letting herself have fun, because if we let ourselves have fun, we would actually have to feel in good feelings. But with our walls and being emotionally disconnected, we can't feel anything or any feeling we are afraid of. Number 4, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. She is shut down to sex. If your wife is shut down to sex, that is your clue that she is emotionally unavailable. Because again, if we allowed ourselves to be open to the experience of sex, it's an emotional experience. It's an emotional experience and connection with our husbands. So we're either the starfish and just like, yeah, let's get it over with, or we push it out completely, or our husbands can feel we're just checking the box. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, we did it. I did it. I had sex with you. What are you complaining about? But it's still unsatisfying because there's no emotional connection, because we're emotionally unavailable, because we don't want to feel. Number 5, she has no empathy when you are struggling or having a hard time. So say you're having struggles at work. Say you got let go. Say you're having challenges with your family, or a parent gets sick or is going through something tough. She is put out and wants you to just get over it. You can feel the impatience in her of like, why are you having such a hard time with this? She has no ability to have empathy, because in order to have empathy, you have to actually connect and feel inside of you what the other person is experiencing. And because we have emotionally disconnected from ourselves, we don't want to feel anything, then we can't have empathy for our husbands and what they're feeling or what they're going through. That's why you get the feel or the response essentially of just get over it. What's going on? Why are you making such a big deal out of this? Or we fake empathy. And again, you can feel she's not there and she's just doing it as a performance of what she knows she needs to do or is supposed to do, but you feel no empathy from her. Which again, can be confusing, because then you think, what's wrong with me? And you think it's you, but no, it's her. Number 6, you are the last on her list of priorities. And she has no genuine interest in you and what you have going on or what you would like to do. She can't let you in because then she'd have to feel. So that's why you're on the bottom of her priority list. And she doesn't take interest in you because she'd have to be emotionally connected and available. And she's not. Number 7, she is selfish, self-centered, and lives in a universe of one. She only thinks of herself. She cannot consider you and what's important to you or be thoughtful of you, because then she'd have to let herself feel. So she stays in her universe of one, disconnected and emotionally unavailable. Number 8, she is emotionally dysregulated. You never know what mood she will be in. She's highly sensitive and up and down in her mood. Number 9, she is caught up in other people's drama and in the lives of others. So she's always talking about what so-and-so has going on and the drama in their life or the problems that her family is having. And she stays wrapped into the drama of other people. Again, so she doesn't have to be engaged with herself and have to be connected and feel her own life and her own priorities. Number 10, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable, you constantly walk on eggshells. You constantly walk on eggshells. You're afraid to walk in the door. What are you coming home to? You're afraid to question anything or bring up issues because you will poke the bear and she will turn into a rage. Number 11, she is really busy and constantly in a go, go, go mode. She has a full calendar always. She never has time for anything or you because she is so busy. That's a way for us to escape our lives and disconnect. That's why we're so busy. It's why we're so sped up and on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing always. She can't sit down. She can't relax. She can't sit and watch a movie with you. There's always something she's got to be doing. Because if we slow down, we would feel. Number 12, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. She is always on her phone, scrolling, and checked out on social media. Number 13, she has a lot of friends. She has a lot of friends. So as we get older as women, the purpose of having a lot of friends and a lot of people we got to keep up with is, again, to disconnect from our own lives, disconnect from ourselves, and have a distraction. Number 14, she is controlling and rigid and has to have things done her way, because if it's done any other way and she's not in control, then she would feel how out of control she feels and what's going on internally. So we are controlling to have a sense of control and to not have anything disrupt our lives. So we don't have to feel. We want our lives to look like this, just a straight line, no disruption, because if there's a disruption, we would have to feel. Number 15, she's emotional and cries easily. So in being emotional, it's a way to disconnect from what she's feeling. And it's a way to manipulate our husbands to get them to back off or to create our story of how sensitive we are and why we need more from them to feel loved. That's never enough. And we stay emotional to not have to be connected. So I know that can be confusing, but being emotional is a sign of being emotionally unavailable. In that, she might also live in a lot of worry and anxiety about what could go wrong or the future or the state of the world. Number 16, she's very skinny and preoccupied with her looks. So she's on the high maintenance side of her looks, and she might be a health nut and overly involved with healthy eating, exercising, or doing things like a lot of yoga. And she's obsessed with how she looks and obsessed with being skinny. And that's a way to not have to feel and to have another distraction in our lives to be emotionally unavailable. Number 17, on the flip side of that, she's put on weight and does not take care of her looks. So she was fit when you got married, and then she stopped caring for her body and her health and put on weight as a way to have walls and to push you away and to not have to feel. And that she might also wear sweats or unattractive clothing and not get ready for the day. Number 18, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. She has what I call a happy pill. That in spite of what she's feeling or the challenges in life, she presents herself to the outside world as outgoing, positive, sweet, and just a wonderful person. And everyone thinks she is just the greatest thing. And it's actually a sign of being emotionally disconnected that she has to present this facade. And then you know her as either someone totally different in the relationship. The facade comes down and it's like everyone thinks she's so wonderful. They're going to think I'm crazy if I said I was having these experiences of her being cold or distant or treating me poorly, because she's created that happy pill facade. She might still have that happy pill facade in the relationship. And what that can look like is she cheerleads you through problems and puts a positive spin on anything you are struggling with and dismisses your feelings and challenges. We'll tell you, well, look at it this way. Well, maybe, if you just saw it through this lens, then you could see why it's a good thing that this happened and you won't feel this way. So she never wants you to feel anything negative or challenging and wants you to just snap out of it, slap a smile on your face and keep moving forward. That's because she doesn't want to have to feel and be emotionally connected. Number 19, she can't be wrong. She always has to be right. If we're wrong, then we have to feel the vulnerability of being wrong, which just means incorrect. So we always have to be right. And number 20, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. She is disconnected from her role as a mother. So she doesn't show basic love and connection. She's always stressed out. She's running around yelling. She doesn't have compassion when the kids are going through a tough time or going through the things we go through as kids. And she is disconnected from her role as a mother. That can also look like always being on her phone. She takes the kids to the park or goes somewhere and she just sits there on her phone. Another sign of her being emotionally unavailable. And those are the 20 signs that your wife is emotionally unavailable, so that you can know it's not you, it's her. And she's just brainwashed you to believe it's you because you're a man and society reinforces it, that you're the one who is emotionally unavailable. So now I want to talk a little bit about the solution. I'll talk to women first and then men. The solution for women in overcoming our emotional disconnection, overcoming our walls, and being emotionally available in our marriage, we have to get out of camp victim. We have to get out of camp victim. The reason that we are emotionally unavailable and live behind walls is because what we have perceived to have been done to us in life that has hurt us and wronged us. And we don't go through life embracing the emotional pain and hurt that comes with life, the challenges that come with life, to grow and learn from them and stay open in life, not being afraid of life or seeing it as hurting us, but actually taking responsibility for our own emotional experience and stopping blaming others for how hurt we've been. In this case, we have to get out of camp victim in our marriages. The reason our walls are so sky high with our husbands is we have begun to blame them for all of our hurt and unhappy experiences in ourselves and make them the problem. So that's why we put our walls up to them. You've hurt me. You've created me to be this way. You've made me feel this way. And blame them. So we have to get out of camp victim and the blame and move into camp take responsibility to see how we are creating our own experience, that we're the cause of our unhappiness and miserableness, not our husbands. And when you get out of camp victim, that's how you begin to drop your walls and connect to yourself. And then you have a totally different lens through which you see your husband. And you can learn to be vulnerable and open up to him and be connected in the relationship, showing up as yourself. The only way to drop our walls, the only way to be open to vulnerability and emotional connection to ourselves and our husbands is to get out of camp victim and stop the blame game and learn to take responsibility for our own experiences. This is what I teach women in my happiness program. It's a roadmap to go from camp victim to camp take responsibility. And then you'll be right there waiting for you as you begin to drop your walls and feel good about who you are. So you can find the link to that, to my happiness course for women in the description below. The solution for men. You have to know that there is nothing you can do to emotionally re-engage your wife. There is nothing you can do to emotionally re-engage your wife. The more you try, the higher her walls will go up and the more she will push you away. It will make things worse. The only way for her to emotionally re-engage is for her to see the truth of her behaviors and how she is showing up in the relationship. And then she has to make the choice to want to change and emotionally re-engage. Men also have to know you've done nothing to cause the walls to go up. The walls were already there. We started building them from a young age, the first time we ever got hurt. And they came down in the beginning because she wanted the marriage and the relationship. And then once she couldn't hold the facade and keep the walls down, the walls went right back up. They were already there. You didn't cause them. And it doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean you haven't made mistakes. But a good man's intention is not to hurt. He doesn't want to hurt his wife. Does he make mistakes? Sure. Does he respond and react to our walls? Yeah. But it's not from a place to be intentionally hurtful. A good man can forgive and forget very easily. But as women, we hold on to our hurts and use them to build our walls and then push you away and gaslight you to be the problem. But you have to know you didn't cause the walls. She built the walls. And they started a long time ago. So good men need to know that who you are out in the world, when you go to work, when you're interacting outside of the relationship, and you're kind and caring and easygoing and easily connected to others, that's the real you. And who you are in your relationship, if you've become distant and emotionally withdrawn from your wife, it's a result of the gaslighting and who she's emasculated you to be in the relationship. You don't want to be a victim to that. You want to learn to understand what's happening and take yourself back for the sake of you and not give your wife the power to do that to you any longer. And that's what I teach good men in my men's course, is to regain your strength and confidence and not allow your wife to strip you of your nature as a good man, so that you can be strong in yourself in the face of the games and the tricks that she plays in her emasculation and gaslighting. When you know how to navigate them and be strong and confident in yourself in the face of them, they lose their power. And that allows you to rebuild and have your sense of happiness regardless of how your wife shows up and behaves in the relationship. And so you can find the link to the men's course below in the description and apply for a consultation. And that's the show today, guys. Went a little longer, but thank you so much for being here. Please like this episode if you haven't already. If you know someone that this could help, please share the video and consider subscribing if you're not subscribed yet. And I'm going to head over to the chat and take a peek there. Phil's going to send me some questions and comments. Thank you, Phil. And then we'll wrap up for this nice November day. All right, so I'll head over to the chat. Those of you who've been around a while and know that I take some time off in the summer to go camping, Adam and I made our first camping reservation this morning. We live in Colorado, and we made our reservations for Memorial Day weekend already today, which is kind of like, oh my gosh. That's how you have to do it here in Colorado, because camping reservations go so quickly that you have to book out like 6 months in advance if there's a place that you have your heart set on. So that was exciting today. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Oh, thank you. Rhode Island Street Preaching. Thank you so much for your generosity. And glad that you like the show. Keep coming back. I appreciate your kindness. Let's see. Thank you very much for your contribution. To GG user, men should argue that women ought to be logically available in relationships, and men should only date women who are logical. So in theory, that sounds great. And thank you so much for your comment, and thank you for your contribution. It's greatly appreciated. And while that sounds great in theory, here's the reality. And thank you for the comment, because it gives me a chance to use that as a talking point for everybody. For the men listening, the women listening, really, really important and very difficult sometimes for men to understand and let in, understandably. Women and men really, really, really are wired differently. A logical woman, in the context of a relationship, again, we're talking in the context of marriage and relationships, a logical woman, that's an oxymoron. Logical woman in the context of a marriage or relationship is an oxymoron. We are highly emotional, and we have never been taught that we can be in control of our highly emotional ways that lead in to our woman ways, and build the skill set to be more logical, to, how would I put it in that experience of myself in my marriage, to override, that we can learn the skill set to override our natural emotional reactions and let our emotions take the best of us. But that emotional experience is still happening, and we have a very difficult time being logical in relationships, in a marriage, because our emotions our go-to mode is to react emotionally. Whereas a man, and a good man, is very practical, very logical. And it's where we have a difficult time understanding each other as men and women, because a man is coming from a logical place, a woman's coming from an emotional place. So that's why I teach that we have to find the dance. And men need to know, even if your wife is open-minded and willing to work on her woman ways, she's going to get so much better. And she's still going to be a woman. And you're still going to be a man. And that's a really good thing, because we complement each other in those ways, and we can learn to have a dance. But it's going to be a very frustrating place for a man to think that his wife is ever going to be able to have the same logical approach, the same logical thinking and understanding that he has. Or for a woman to want and believe her husband should have the same emotional reactions or thinking that she does. That's a recipe for resentment and bitterness and being a victim to each other. It's really the acceptance and understanding that, no, we are different, and that's a good thing. And while a woman can work on herself, as I have, to build our skill set to override our emotions and parent ourselves to be logical and work with our husbands to have that dance and have them lead in their problem solving skills and logical skills, it takes a lot of work. And so that's why I teach, you want to find a woman in the dating world, you want to find a woman on the low end spectrum of our emotionality and our woman ways. And that's where you can have the dance in our differences. But yeah, a logical woman is an oxymoron in the context of a romantic relationship or a marriage. And it just, that's why it can be hard for men to understand. Why is she like that? It's our emotional wiring that men have a different wiring to be logical and problem solving, even in the face of an emotional experience. And he still feels and feels deeply, but will express it differently than how, as women, we express our emotionality. So I appreciate the comment and the ability for that to be a great talking point. Coming back over to the chat. Oh, good for you, Henry. Thank you so much for your comment. So grateful for your channel. It made me realize that what I was up against 2 years ago. My wife of 30 years left after I refused to play her games. Good for you. Now I'm healing. Thank you, Karen. Good for you. Yeah, and as Patriot Defender says, it gets easier over time. So I'm going to head over to... That's awesome. All right, head over to my email, see if we've got some questions and comments that Phil sent my way. Sure enough. Thank you, Phil. All right. Great comment, Jojo. I love that. Karen, would you consider moving and becoming my next door neighbor and becoming a close friend to my wife? We need you here. Bless you. Bless you. Thank you so much. And guys, as I read through questions, some I'll answer, some I won't. Not just like to find the ones I can easily talk to on the spot or that are appropriate to the message. Yeah, good. Potato Head Joe. What do you say to a wife that always has to get her way for 25 years? And he says, I guess I let it happen after year one. She's an only child. Yeah. It's recognizing, oh my gosh, that's who she is. And you have a choice to talk to her about it, maybe share a video of mine that most speaks to the challenges you're having, and see if she's willing to change. Her reaction will tell you everything, whether she's open to changing or not. And good for you to take responsibility to see how you gave into it and let it happen. That's all we can do. Good question. What does a man do to begin to be seen as an emotional being? I have no idea what that even looks like. So that's where, as a man, you have to break out of the gaslighting by your wife and society that you're not an emotional being, that you don't feel, and to know the truth of yourself. That when we, both for women or men, when we know the truth of ourselves and we're grounded in the truth of who we are, for example, a man knowing that he feels deeply, that he's sensitive, that he's in touch with his emotions and his emotional experience, when he knows that for himself and is grounded in that and has that relationship with himself, he doesn't need to be seen. Would it be appreciated And is it what should be a part of a marriage? Absolutely. But we can't make another see us for who we truly are, because in this case, in a marriage, you can't make your wife see who you truly are, because she would have to see herself. And as we talked about today, drop her walls and be open to her own emotional experience. And if she's not willing to do that, there's nothing you can do to get her to see you as a deeply feeling person. So that's where you have to take your power back to know that is who you are for yourself. And then you can be at peace in yourself. An example that I can share in my own experience is I deeply know the truth that I am the problem with a good man. As a woman, I am the problem with a good man. I'm the problem in my marriage. And in working with others for over a decade now, I see the universality of the issues and problems I talk about and see how, as women, we are the problem with good men. I know that to be true. I'm grounded in the truth of that. And so when people online shame me or make me wrong and bad or try to make me wrong and bad for my message, for the most part, depending on what they're trying to shame me about. But if they're trying to tell me you're wrong, that it's always a woman with a good man, that's, how could you say that? It bounces off, and I understand why they think that. I can have understanding. I'm like, yeah, I know it sounds extreme, but it's true. And it doesn't knock me off of my own truth, because I know it so deeply in myself, in my own experience personally, and in my experience professionally. So that's an example I can give in my own experience. When I know the truth of myself and what my experience is, I don't need others to see it or validate it. And if I do, that's great, because then it shows me a crack in my own foundation, which I get plenty of when I'm brave to go into my comments and purposely read the ones that are attacking me, which I know they're just attacking my message. They don't know me. But it shows me the cracks in my foundations. If I need another to see me, if I need another to validate me or agree with me and see it my way, it shows me I'm not grounded in the truth of my own experience. So it's a gift, because then I can do the work to become grounded in my own experience and then be at peace in myself, knowing that if no one ever understood me or understood that about my truth, then that's okay, because I know it. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah, great question, Kemba. Do some of these walls and controlling issues stem from being with other men prior to marriage? Absolutely. It's anytime we get our heart broken, and even just a normal breakup, but she was with a nice person. Just breakups in general are heartbreaking. And as women, we don't move through that and hold on to the hurt, which builds our walls, builds our controlling issues. It's essentially the first time we started getting our heart broken. I can remember things from in very minor circumstances or experiences from my childhood that most people, or I'll say men, would not remember. I know other women do. I mean, I remember not being invited to my first birthday party in kindergarten. And those are things that I've had to work through, because that's how early our walls start. The first time we feel rejected, the first time we feel we don't belong, and get our hearts hurt. That's as women when we start building walls and then start having our controlling issues. So you said, I feel like there's so many factors. There are. I was joking. I meant to say this earlier in the live, but I forgot. Oh, well. But I was just laughing as I was planning this, because it's like, well, we're victims and we blame others for our problems. And then because of that, we feel hurt. And then we start building walls, and then we project, and then we're controlling, and all the things that I read off in that list of 20. And it's like, as women, we're like this, think of the most complicated, lock on a safe you could imagine, that just And that's what we create ourselves to be in our emotional ways as women internally. Whereas a good man, very simple. It's just like open, close, like, like just like a simple bedroom lock, like locked, unlocked. And yeah, there's many factors that go into our walls. So thank you. Richard, thank you for your kind comment. Thank you for being here through these videos. I watch every day. Good for you. Yeah, thanks. It's a hard truth, Scott, but yeah, thanks for reminding me that as a husband, there's nothing I can do. That's where good men start to give their power away, is thinking there's something that they can do to change all this mess. And then it just makes things so much worse. So while it's a hard truth to let in, it's actually the truth that leads you to freedom from what you're experiencing. Do I want to dive? Yeah, I got time. For those that have to leave, thank you so much for being here. I know I'm going a little longer today. But Rosie Posey, men are just powerless nowadays. Why should I get married? So that's, that's a loaded question. I feel like there could be a whole live on that. But thank you. As women, we need to get married for the purpose of outgrowing our destructive behaviors and patterns toward men and learn to be who we truly are as women, to bring out our loveliness, our softness, our genuine kindness, our ability to have empathy, our ability to have a deep relationship with ourselves and another, to learn to let someone in, including ourselves. My marriage has been my greatest teacher to thrive and become who God made me to be as a woman. And I cannot be who I am today without my husband as a good man, and without my marriage as a structure to help me grow and learn. I'm very fortunate and blessed for the man that I got to marry, that I would have projected on him as seeing him as powerless or weak in the beginning of our relationship, but that is who I had created him to be through the lens of which I saw him, which was a projection of my own experience of myself. So this is a great example. Thank you. And not saying this about you personally, just our experience as women. This is the lens we've created toward men from ourselves and our own powerlessness of living as a victim. So I had a friend once say, throw a stone and you'll hit a good man. They're everywhere. And it's up to you to see, is that a priority to you in your life to get married? And if so, begin seeing your own projection onto men as the work you have cut out, that we have cut out for us as women, to overcome our biases and projections and cruelty towards men. So that's, being married is how we become real women and outgrow our selfishness and outgrow our projections onto men. So thanks for the question. Let's see. All right, guys, I'm going to start to wrap up. Just pop over here for a moment. Let's see. All right, guys. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Oh man, lots of interesting things going on in the chat. Thank you guys for being active and engaged, and such a great community. Great to have all you here. Mike 88GT, great to see you here this week. Monica, thank you for being here. Kemba and all the wonderful women joining the chat. Troy Dunn, been around since the beginning. So thank you guys. Luke, of course. You guys are great, and just appreciate you very much. Thank you to Phil and Steve for holding down the fort in the chat today. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Like I said, I think I might get ahead of the curve and do a story, or not a story, a live show on the holidays next week. So we'll see if that's where we head or somewhere different. But I'll see you next Saturday, and have a great weekend, guys. All right. Bye.